The world is not always loud, not when it matters most. Across the tangled undergrowth of equatorial jungles, the shifting sands of deserts, the flickering coral labyrinths beneath the sea, and even the silent vaults of the Arctic ice, there's a recurring rule that governs life and death. What you don't see will kill you. Stealth is not just an adaptation. It is a strategy etched deep into the predator's DNA, a silent arms race where success means dinner and failure means death by starvation. In a natural world where brute force has its place but often draws blood inefficiently, stealth is the elegant weapon, quiet, precise, and almost always final. Evolution didn't choose silence out of sympathy. It chose it because it works. The loud predators, the reckless chargers, the noisy stampedes might dominate in the open plains, but they leave trails, warnings, ripples in the fabric of their environment. Stealth predators, on the other hand, disappear into that very fabric. Their power lies in timing, patience, and camouflage. They are the artists of stillness and masters of misdirection, using every shade of shadow, every fold of terrain, and every lull in the wind to become nothing at all, until it's too late. In the dappled light of a forest floor, the leopard moves with ghost-like ease. Each step is calculated, not just placed. The pads of its feet press the ground without a whisper, as if rehearsed 1,000 times. Its spotted coat doesn't just blend in, it fragments its outline, disintegrating it into foliage. The prey, a lone antelope, is unaware that death is now 5 meters away, not 50. The leopard doesn't pounce yet. It waits. Because in this world, one mistimed twitch ruins the entire hunt. What follows is not a roar, not a growl, not even a rush. It's a single bound, a clean clamp of jaws on the neck, and silence again. The kill is nearly noiseless. The jungle swallows the evidence whole. Yet the jungle is not the only domain where stealth reigns. In the ocean's shallow reefs, where colors burst in every direction and prey eyes are trained to detect the slightest change in pattern, the octopus plays a different game. It doesn't just hide, it transforms. Chromatophores under its skin flash like neural pixels, allowing it to mimic coral, rocks, even the texture of sand. An octopus doesn't wait in ambush. It becomes the ambush. A crab scuttles by, fooled by the shape of a stone, but that stone unfurls into 8 coiled arms in a fraction of a second. The predator was there all along, camouflaged not in color, but in expectation. This mastery of invisibility isn't limited to sight. Owls, perched high in trees or drifting silently across moonlit fields, use another kind of stealth, acoustic invisibility. Their feathers are structured with microscopic fringes that disrupt airflow, muting the sound of flight entirely. While a hawk's descent whistles through the air, an owl's strike is eerily soundless. Mice do not hear them coming. Even with the best auditory defenses in the rodent world, the prey hears nothing but the thud of its own heartbeat, and then nothing at all. In these cases, soundlessness is not just silence, it's a weapon. Stealth evolved again and again across ecosystems because it addresses a universal challenge. Prey are always watching, always listening, always trying to survive. The more senses you can deceive, the closer you get to a successful kill. That is why so many predators, separated by oceans, climate, and time, independently developed similar techniques: low profiles, color blending, step-by-step movement, or stalling mid-pursuit to reset the prey's alarm system. This isn't coincidence. It's convergence, evolution solving the same problem in the same way across wildly different species. And stealth isn't always about what a predator does. It's also about what it avoids. Chasing burns calories. Failing risks injury. The cheetah might be the world's fastest sprinter, but even it stalks its prey until the last possible moment. Speed is a finisher, not an opener. Without stealth, even the best weapons rust. The tiger, massive and strong, will still crawl belly flat through thick reeds for an hour to avoid a single misstep. The killer whale, one of the most intelligent predators on Earth, will work in pods to corral fish into bait balls, then approach from angles the prey can't anticipate. Their tactics are deliberate, rehearsed, and chillingly quiet. It's not just killing, it's choreography. There's a deeper layer too. Stealth allows for selective targeting. It gives the predator options. A lion charge scatters a herd. A leopard stalk chooses the weakest. An ambush spider waits for the right vibration. It doesn't waste venom. A crocodile positions itself near a watering hole, not because it can't chase, but because it doesn't need to. It only has to move once. In the calculus of hunting, surprise reduces risk. For the predator, the kill is not always a battle. When done right, it's simply a conclusion. Even environments shape the type of stealth that evolves. In jungles, it's about blending in. In deserts, it's about timing, waiting in stillness until the heat shimmers blind both predator and prey. In coral reefs, it's about three-dimensional concealment, above, below, and behind. In snowfields, it's about color and pressure, where every crunch underfoot could betray your presence. The animal doesn't just adapt to hide in the environment, it learns to move like the environment. That's the difference between hiding and vanishing. But perhaps the most astonishing thing is that many of these predators are solitary. There's no backup, no second chance. If the ambush fails, the meal is gone, sometimes for days. That pressure creates perfection. Every step they take is learned from trial, error, hunger, and near death. A leopard's crouch is inherited knowledge passed through generations. An octopus's camouflage is not just instinct, it's improvisation, adjusted in real time based on visual feedback. They don't just hide, they analyze. And so, across the wild tapestry of Earth, the most efficient killers are not the loudest. They don't roar into battle. They don't chase chaos. They don't warn their prey. They vanish, they wait, they strike, and they leave. The only sign they were ever there is a broken neck, a missing fish, a faint trail of feathers, or a quiet splash that wasn't heard in time. In the arena of evolution, stealth wasn't a secondary skill. It was the blueprint for how to win. This is not the age of noise. It never was. In nature, the loudest creature is often the last to eat. The real rulers of the hunt, the ghost cats, the shapeshifters, the whisper-winged, are the ones who mastered the kill without ever needing to be seen. The jungle does not sleep, it only shifts its rhythm. As daylight bleeds from the canopy and the last streaks of sunlight curl into the undergrowth, the forest begins its quiet transformation. Cicadas erupt in vibrating waves, distant hoots bounce between trunks. The air thickens, not just with humidity, but with a tension that doesn't belong to day. In this darkness, everything is listening, everything is watching, and everything knows that somewhere just out of sight, the leopard is awake. There is no grand entrance, no roar, no trumpeting alarm. The leopard materializes in shadow the way heat rises from stone, gradually, invisibly, until it is simply there. Its rosetted coat is not decoration, but deception, breaking its outline into a tangle of light and dark that mimics the jungle's flickering mess of leaves and moonlight. The pattern works best at dusk and dawn, when shadows are fluid and the world looks half-drawn, and that's precisely when the leopard moves. Timing in the leopard's life is everything. Its body flows like liquid muscle, each footfall placed so deliberately that the forest floor seems to accept it. The pads on its paws are softened to absorb shock, allowing it to step on dry twigs without a snap, to slink through leaf litter without crunch. Even its breathing adjusts, slower and shallower, when it nears prey. Evolution has stripped away every ounce of unnecessary motion. The tail, long and flexible, becomes a rudder for balance as it threads silently through bamboo groves or balances along horizontal branches. For the leopard, the entire jungle is a pathway, a three-dimensional maze it has mastered. Somewhere nearby, a young sambar deer grazes near a patch of ferns. It has no idea it's being watched. The leopard is less than 30 meters away, flat to the earth, downwind, and completely still. It's been this way for 10 minutes, maybe more. The deer flicks its ear. The leopard doesn't blink. In this frozen moment, the predator isn't just waiting, it's calculating. Distance, wind, cover, the angle of the leap, the escape paths. One false twitch and the deer bolts and the leopard goes hungry again. The math must be perfect. Then a rustle, a shift in the prey's posture, a step closer. The predator's muscles tighten like springs compressed to the point of fracture. The forest holds its breath. The next moment is a blur, an explosion of silence. Not a growl, not a snarl, not a scream. Just one, fluid, perfectly aimed lunge. Forelimbs stretch, claws extend, jaws clamp the neck with millimeter precision, and the deer collapses before it even knows what hit it. The kill is clean, efficient, no chase, no struggle, just a fast fade to black under the vines. But the leopard's mastery doesn't end at the kill. Unlike lions or cheetahs that feed where the body drops, leopards don't leave anything to chance. With quiet urgency, it grips the lifeless carcass in its jaws and begins dragging it, effortlessly, even if it weighs twice as much, across the forest floor. The destination, upward. A tree, a chosen one. Not just any branch, but a strong, elevated fork where scavengers can't reach and where the leopard can dine in peace. It climbs with slow power, using claws like pythons and hind limbs like coiled springs. The prey swings slightly beneath its jaws, legs limp, blood trailing in droplets that vanish by morning. This behavior, tree caching, is one of the leopard's most defining features. No other big cat exhibits it so universally. It's not just clever, it's vital. In jungles crawling with hyenas, jackals, and even lions, a ground kill is a gamble. But the leopard is a solo hunter. No pride, no pack, no backup. What it kills, it must keep. So it adapts, turning vertical terrain into storage, gravity into a weapon against thieves. Up in the trees, the leopard becomes both ruler and butcher, carving its meal under the safety of altitude. At night, the jungle often belongs to the leopard. While other carnivores like tigers may be louder and more forceful, few can match the precision and adaptability of this shadow. It is as at home in thorn forests as it is in rainforest, as skilled in rocky hills as it is in mangrove swamps. And it eats what it finds: monkeys, pigs, porcupines, birds, dogs, even reptiles. No prey is too strange. In Sri Lanka, leopards hunt giant squirrels. In India, they raid rooftops for chickens. In the Congo, they kill colobus monkeys mid-leap. And in some African reserves, they've been known to snatch baboons from trees, dragging them into silence before the troop can scream. What makes the leopard truly dangerous is not its power, but its unpredictability. It hunts alone. It strikes from any direction. It moves not like a lion, which announces its dominance, but like a whisper passed through tall grass. It is not territorial in the way others are. It adapts its range to fit human expansion, often appearing in suburbs, tea plantations, or backyards without being seen. In Mumbai, India's largest city, leopards share the same forested hills as apartment complexes. They walk narrow alleyways at night, invisible to CCTV cameras, hunting stray dogs with surgical precision. One moment the street is empty. The next a shadow flickers past a wall, and the dog is gone. The leopard is, in essence, the ultimate generalist. But generalism in its case does not mean compromise, it means mastery of variation. It can switch habitats, prey and hunting styles as the environment demands. In this, it may be one of the most successful big cats on Earth. Not because it fights for dominance, but because it avoids fights entirely. Its stealth is not just a tactic, it is survival. Every movement is about minimizing risk. Every climb, every pause, every pounce is part of a calculus honed by millions of years of silent practice. Even its anatomy reinforces this. While a lion's body is built for brute strength and a cheetah's for blinding speed, the leopard is balance incarnate. Muscular but not bulky, agile but not frail. Short legs for climbing, long tail for counterbalance, paws that spread to absorb impact, and eyes that see through the gloom with perfect clarity, tuned to detect the faintest flutter in the leaves or the softest twitch of fur. And so, as the night thickens and other animals seek shelter, the leopard moves on. Not driven by hunger now, but curiosity, patrol, and instinct. It will hunt again, not because it must, but because it can. A rustle in the bushes, a bat squeak overhead, the rhythmic pulse of distant frog song. And through it all, one silent observer, drifting like smoke through the trees. It leaves behind no blood-curdling calls, no drama, no carnage trail. Just the sound of wet leaves under paw, and the eerie realization that while you were watching everything else, the real killer already came and went. The wind breathes differently at altitude. It scrapes rather than whispers, cutting across ancient stone ridges where life is sparse and silence is sovereign. Here in the high Himalayas, above the tree line and below the cloud line, the land is built not for comfort, but for endurance. Oxygen thins, temperatures plunge. The sun blazes during the day and vanishes into killing frost by night. To survive here, an animal must do more than adapt. It must vanish into the very bones of the mountain. And none do it better than the snow leopard. Seen rarely and filmed only with great patience, the snow leopard is not just a predator. It is a suggestion, a rumor written in footprints that disappear as fast as they appear. To call it elusive is to miss the point. This cat does not flee from sight. It was never visible to begin with. Its smoky grey coat, dusted with black rosettes and ghost-like streaks, blends seamlessly into the lichen-covered granite and fractured scree of its alpine world. Unlike rainforest predators who hide in vegetation, the snow leopard becomes one with raw stone, making camouflage not an aid, but a principle of existence. The terrain it calls home is as unforgiving as it is vast. Spanning across rugged ranges from Nepal to Kazakhstan, these cats inhabit altitudes from 3,000 to over 5,500 meters, where cliffs are vertical and pathways are ledges no wider than a dinner plate. Prey is rare and skittish, often grazing in open plateaus where cover is non-existent. But the snow leopard does not need cover in the traditional sense. It relies instead on elevation, patience, and precision. It can wait on a crag above a valley for hours, unmoving as shadows shift, scanning for the faintest sign of movement, an ibex traversing a slope, or a blue sheep grazing too far from the cliff edge. Once a target is selected, the approach begins not with a charge but with positioning. The snow leopard doesn't run directly. It navigates the terrain like a military strategist. It uses ridgelines and dips, crawls along scree slopes, and descends rock faces with feline grace to reach an angle of advantage. These are not short stalks. In some documented hunts, snow leopards will follow a prey animal for miles, never being seen, always staying uphill. Their ambush range can exceed 50 feet. A lunging drop from a ledge, gravity turned into a weapon. When the strike comes, it is sudden and unstoppable. Launching from above, often unseen until the final second, the snow leopard collides with its prey like a boulder, using the momentum of descent to break the animal's balance and drive it into the rocks. It targets the neck or spine with a bite that is not flashy but efficient. No theatrics, just impact, collapse, and silence again. And if the prey is large, like a full-grown barrel or Himalayan ibex, the leopard may ride it down the slope during the kill, holding on like a spectral shadow as both slide through snow and rubble. Perhaps what's most astonishing is the anatomy behind this ghostly killer. The snow leopard's tail is a marvel, longer, thicker, and more flexible than any other big cat's. It acts as a counterweight on cliffs and a thermal scarf during rest. Its hind legs are proportionally massive, giving it an unparalleled vertical leap. Reports suggest they can spring up to 10 meters in a single bound, often upward in thin air. Its nasal cavity is enlarged to warm the frigid air before it hits the lungs. The paws are broad and fur-covered, acting as snowshoes over ice-crusted ledges. Everything in its body, from its smoky fur to its stocky build, serves the mission of survival without noise. Unlike lions or wolves, snow leopards are true solitaries. They do not form prides, nor rely on pack cooperation. Every meal must be hunted alone, every carcass defended. This isolation demands efficiency. One failed ambush could mean another 3 days without food, and the energy cost of chasing prey in such steep terrain is immense. So they don't chase unless success is nearly guaranteed. That's the cost of living in an ecosystem where prey is spread thin across vertical miles. Their diet is surprisingly varied for such a remote environment. Blue sheep are a staple in many regions, but they also hunt marmots, hares, pikas, and even birds when larger prey is unavailable. In some parts of their range, they've been known to take down young yaks or domestic goats, which brings them into conflict with local herders. But even in these human-fringed zones, the snow leopard remains rarely seen. Villagers may find a missing goat, paw prints in the frost, or blood trails leading into ravines, but sightings are fleeting, if they happen at all. Trail cameras often catch only a single image, glowing eyes in the dark, one step vanishing into shadow. It is this ability to operate at the edge of visibility that gives the snow leopard its reputation not just as a predator, but as a myth. In local cultures, it is revered and feared. In Tibet, it is called Shan, the mountain ghost. In Kyrgyz folklore, it is said to guard mountain spirits and only reveals itself to the pure of heart. These are not just superstitions born from isolation, they reflect a lived truth. Most who share the snow leopard's habitat will go a lifetime without seeing one in the flesh. Yet science has slowly caught up to this secrecy. GPS collaring efforts have shown that snow leopards patrol vast territories, sometimes exceeding 200 square kilometers. Their ranges often overlap, but direct confrontations are rare. Males mark cliffs and scent posts with scrapes and urine, signals written in stone for others to read. Mating season is brief, and cubs are raised alone by their mother in high mountain dens, sheltered by boulders and snowdrifts. Mortality is high. Survival depends on teaching them one thing above all else: how not to be seen. Climate change and human encroachment pose growing threats to these highland phantoms. As livestock grazing expands and warming pushes tree lines higher, competition increases. But conservationists are adapting too, partnering with local communities to provide livestock insurance, predator-proof pens, and camera monitoring that allows people to coexist with the unseen predators around them. In these efforts, the snow leopard's legend shifts from ghost to guardian, a symbol of fragile balance in a vertical world. Even so, it remains a creature built from silence. As the mountain shadows stretch longer and the wind sharpens again, the snow leopard returns to its ledge, its kill hidden in the scree. Below, the world is oblivious. Above, the stars pierce the cold sky like needles, and somewhere in that frozen cathedral of stone and echo, the predator lies still, watching, waiting, blending perfectly into the ancient spine of the world. A ghost not just in name, but in every breathless step. Dawn is a slow exhalation in the Amazon. The mist clings to the forest like gauze, curling around tree trunks and gliding above the mirror-still waters of winding tributaries. Light filters in reluctantly through layers of canopy, broken into soft beams that spotlight patches of steaming mud and trembling foliage. This is a world that never stops breathing. Wet, thick, humid, a living cathedral of noise and life. Beneath the parrot squawks and howler bellows, there is another rhythm pulsing in the undergrowth. A presence, low to the earth, velvet-pawed, unseen. The jaguar is awake. Unlike other cats, the jaguar doesn't shy away from water. It thrives in it. In fact, it may be the only big cat that truly loves the river. Here, in the heart of South America's densest jungles, where trails vanish within hours and predators become rumors before breakfast, the jaguar has carved out a unique niche, part terrestrial ambush hunter, part aquatic assassin. It is not the fastest nor the largest of the big cats, but it is the most compact, the most heavily muscled, and pound for pound the most powerful, especially when it strikes. This power isn't used recklessly. The jaguar is not a chaser, it is a tactician. On dry land it moves with deceptive ease, low-slung, deliberate, every movement practiced in silence. Its paws are broad, cushioned, capable of stepping over brittle twigs without a sound. Its golden coat, mottled with dark rosettes, mirrors the shifting light that spills through broken foliage and hanging vines. Camouflage here is not static. It must change with every step, matching the chaotic texture of the jungle. A jaguar doesn't blend in, it becomes the background. The hunt often begins not with pursuit, but with stillness. A capybara herd grazes along the banks, careless in its routine, comforted by numbers. One lingers a little too long at the edge of a muddy inlet. There's a ripple near the roots of a fig tree. Not large, not hurried, just a subtle shift, as if the river itself inhaled. The jaguar watches from behind a curtain of palm fronds, crouched with hind legs tense and jaw already partway open. It can kill in one bite, and not by strangulation like other cats. Jaguars crush. Their canines are thick and conical, designed not to pierce the throat but to shatter skulls, puncture turtle shells, and drive through armored reptilian bone. With a sudden surge, the cat springs. The water explodes beneath it. Mud scatters, the capybara thrashes, but it's too late. Jaws clamp around the back of the skull with a sound more felt than heard. There is no drawn-out struggle, just silence again, as the cat drags the carcass into the undergrowth. It doesn't feed immediately. It moves deeper, away from scavengers and away from eyes. Even here, in the heart of its territory, the jaguar avoids unnecessary risk. But the jaguar's domain extends beyond the riverbank. It slips into water like a shadow sinking beneath glass. Its body flattens, tail trailing behind like a rudder, paws turning from tools of silence to paddles of propulsion. It swims with purpose, angling not toward prey but toward position. Its target? The caiman. Most predators avoid the caiman, wary of its jaws, armored hide, and ambush prowess. But the jaguar is not most predators. It is one of the few land animals capable of killing a full-grown caiman outright. It does not wrestle or slash. It climbs trees along the bank, waits in the canopy, and drops, not randomly, but with timing honed by hundreds of hunts. When the strike lands, it's aimed for the back of the skull, behind the eye ridge, where even thick bone gives way to the pressure of a 1500 psi bite. Jaguars are patient. They watch the caiman haul itself onto a sandbar. They wait for the sun to warm its back. And then they strike with terrifying silence, jaws slamming down with mechanical precision. A thrash, a roll, a spray of water, and it's done. The jaguar does not roar in victory. It simply disappears, dragging the carcass into a copse of vines or into the river itself, where it can feed in private, half submerged. This interplay of land and water is not accidental. It's a core part of jaguar ecology. Unlike lions or tigers, jaguars do not dominate open plains or expansive grasslands. Their hunting success relies on dense cover and surprise. The river provides both. Prey is funneled to the banks to drink. Trails are masked by wet earth. And the jaguar's ability to operate across both mediums, stalking silently through jungle and swimming powerfully across flooded channels, gives it an edge few predators possess. In dry season, the jaguar's territory shrinks as water sources dwindle and ambush becomes more frequent. In wet season, rivers swell, territories expand, and prey behavior shifts. Jaguars adapt. They may hunt from elevated platforms, swimming between islands of high ground. Their diet adjusts accordingly. Fish, turtles, even anacondas. A camera trap once recorded a jaguar hauling a 15-foot snake into the brush, jaws locked behind the head to avoid the crushing coils. And despite their solitude, jaguars aren't reclusive. In the Pantanal and parts of the Amazon, territories may overlap. Males tolerate each other's presence so long as feeding and mating don't clash. Their communication is low and guttural, a deep rasping call that sounds more like a bark than a roar. It doesn't carry far, just enough to say, "I'm here." That's enough. What makes jaguars so uniquely successful is not just their power, but their versatility. They are generalist predators in a specialist's world, thriving in some of the most biodiverse but logistically complex ecosystems on Earth. They are not bound to one kind of kill, one kind of terrain, or one kind of strategy. They adapt, they calculate, and they vanish. Even when humans come close, whether researchers or local villagers, sightings are rare. Sometimes a single paw print will appear in the mud beside a canoe, leading nowhere. A low drag mark traced into the sandbank suggests a kill was made and pulled into the forest, but there are no remains. No blood, no struggle, just the faint after-image of movement. The river remembers briefly. Then even that vanishes. And so the jaguar remains, not just a predator, but a phantom. Its territory is not measured in square kilometers, but in confidence. How close it can come without being seen, how long it can wait without moving. It is the stillness between branch creeks, the ripple that shouldn't be there, the sound of water disrupted once and then never again. In the jungle's endless noise, the jaguar is silence made flesh. And when it kills, it doesn't leave a scar. It leaves a whisper. Beneath the shimmer of a sunlit ocean lies a different world, one carved from coral, cloaked in movement and constantly rearranging itself. It is a place where light fractures into kaleidoscopic colors, where creatures don't merely survive, they deceive. The coral reef, often painted as a bustling city of fish and fluttering anemones, hides a darker, quieter side, one where the greatest killers don't chase or overpower. They vanish, they shift, they wait, and when they strike, the victim often never knew they were there. Welcome to the domain of the reef assassins. At first glance, the reef is chaos. Shoals of tangs dart between staghorn corals. Parrotfish crunch noisily through algae. Crabs scurry, eels lurk. Every crevice offers both shelter and danger, every movement a potential trap. But in this complex architecture, some predators have evolved beyond the hunt. They've turned the reef itself into a weapon. Not by force, but by mimicry. Take the octopus, a creature that redefines what it means to be unseen. No bones, no armor, no fixed color. Its body is soft, malleable, capable of flattening into crevices barely wider than a coin. But more remarkable is its skin, a living canvas of chromatophores and muscle-driven papillae. With a flicker of neural command, the octopus changes not just hue, but texture. Coral 1 second, sand the next, rock moments later. This camouflage is not passive. It's active mimicry, recalculated in real time using its eyes, among the most sophisticated in the invertebrate world, to interpret its surroundings and reflect them with uncanny accuracy. But camouflage alone isn't enough. The octopus is a master of misdirection. Some species, like the mimic octopus of the Indo-Pacific, impersonate venomous creatures, lionfish, sea snakes, and flatfish, by altering their shape and motion. Others perform dynamic color pulses to confuse or warn. When an octopus approaches prey, it does not lunge, it glides. Its arms unfurl with the quiet menace of smoke spreading across the seafloor. And once close, it envelops its target in a sudden, suffocating embrace. Suckers clamp down. A beak, small but sharp, injects venom or tears into flesh. The kill is silent, efficient, brain-driven. The intelligence behind these attacks is no accident. Octopuses are among the smartest invertebrates on Earth. They solve puzzles, remember threats, and exhibit problem-solving that rivals some mammals. Each arm operates semi-independently, guided by a distributed neural network that allows for incredible coordination. This makes ambushes unpredictable, creative, and alarmingly effective. In some reef systems, octopuses have been seen building rock barricades near their dens, not for defense but to trap crabs. Elsewhere, they stalk prey through mazes of coral, changing routes mid-hunt as if recalculating a plan. But the reef's arsenal of assassins extends beyond the octopus. Hidden in plain sight, buried in sediment or nestled between coral knobs, the stonefish lies motionless. At first glance, it is just another chunk of reef, knobby, mottled, textured like dead coral. But beneath this facade is a living weapon. The stonefish doesn't move. It doesn't need to. Small fish swim too close, fooled by the illusion, and with a speed that belies its sluggish appearance, the stonefish's mouth expands in a vacuum-driven burst, sucking the prey whole in under 0.015 seconds, faster than the blink of a human eye. Its real danger, however, is defensive. Along its dorsal ridge lie venomous spines that inject neurotoxins capable of causing extreme pain, paralysis, and even death in humans. The venom isn't used for hunting, but as a deterrent. The stonefish dares the world to mistake it for a rock and punishes those who do. Its stillness is not laziness, but confidence in its disguise. Predators pass by. Divers step over. It waits. It blends. And it survives. Then there is the cuttlefish, not as elusive as the octopus, nor as deadly as the stonefish, but perhaps the most hypnotic. Where the octopus hides, the cuttlefish performs. Its body pulses with waves of light, not random flashes but controlled neurological pulses of bioluminescence. This can dazzle prey, disorienting shrimp or fish long enough for tentacles to lash out. The cuttlefish can alter its body shape to mimic seaweed, hover like a leaf on a current, or flatten along the sand like a lost shell. But beneath the display is strategy. Cuttlefish have been observed calculating angle and shadow before they attack, even using one arm to distract prey while the others move into position. Behavior more reminiscent of a planning predator than a reactive one. Each of these creatures, the octopus, the stonefish, the cuttlefish, operates differently, but shares a unifying principle. Visibility is vulnerability. In a reef where escape routes are limited and predators lurk at every angle, the best attack is one that's never seen. That's why these animals don't just hide from prey, they become the terrain. Ambush is not a behavior, it's a lifestyle. Even their kills leave little trace. A crab disappears beneath a coral outcrop. A small fish vanishes mid-swim. The reef swallows the moment like it never happened. Predators don't chase here, they erase. And because these predators are so difficult to spot, scientists long underestimated their impact. Only with extensive dive studies and remote cameras has the true reach of their hunting come into view. Octopuses, for instance, are shaping prey populations across entire reef sections. Cuttlefish, once believed to be simple hunters, are being studied for complex decision-making and even potential learning from observed behavior. The reef's assassins aren't just good at hiding, they're also smarter than anyone expected. Unlike jaguars or leopards who leave claw marks and drag trails, reef killers leave behind silence. No broken branches, no blood spray, just subtle shifts in prey patterns, missing species, and the occasional flash of movement caught in the corner of a diver's mask. Their effectiveness is invisible by design, not because they lack power, but because they've evolved to kill without attention. And in this environment, that's the most potent adaptation of all. Back on the surface, the reef looks calm. Gentle waves, blue water, sun-sparkled serenity. But beneath that lies a system constantly in motion, a war zone of ambushes, deceptions, and vanishing acts. For every bright clownfish or flashing angelfish, there's a shapeshifter nearby, watching, changing, calculating. In this underwater labyrinth, the deadliest killers wear no crown. They wear the reef itself. The day belongs to noise, the rustle of leaves, the drone of insects, the chatter of birds. But when the sun sinks beyond the horizon and dusk fades into true night, something shifts. The soundscape thins. The forest hushes. Even the wind seems to soften its voice. It is during these hours, under the silver cast of moonlight or the ink-black shroud of a clouded sky, that the most silent killers take flight. The owls emerge, not in flocks or bursts of wings, but one by one, as if conjured from the night itself. The air holds its breath as the barn owl begins to move. It drifts from a wooden beam inside a decaying barn, its body light and hollow-boned, gliding through the open loft with a stillness that defies gravity. There is no wing beat, no flutter, no whoosh, just motion, pure, clean, uninterrupted. This is no accident of nature. It is a mechanical marvel crafted by evolution. The barn owl's flight is not merely quiet, it is engineered for silence. Its feathers are the secret, specifically the ones on the leading edge of the wings. Tiny serrations break up the air before it flows over the surface, reducing turbulence. The trailing edge of the wing is soft and ragged, further muffling the sound of passage. Even the surface of the wing is velvety, absorbing sound rather than reflecting it. These adaptations allow the owl to fly within inches of its prey without triggering so much as a twitch. Compared to a pigeon or hawk in flight, the difference is measurable and startling. In lab tests, owl flight produces virtually no sound detectable above ambient noise. It's not just quiet, it's inaudible. Below in the grass, a vole moves cautiously, unaware of the shape floating above it. Rodents, especially at night, rely on sound far more than sight to detect threats. They listen for footsteps, rustling, the snap of a twig, but owls provide no such warning. The vole continues its search for fallen seeds, its ears twitching independently, until a shadow briefly interrupts the moonlight and ends everything. The strike is fast, but controlled. The owl drops without flaring its wings, its talons extending at the last moment like knives from a silent sheath. It doesn't slam into its target. It lands, arrests motion, and dispatches the prey with a single bite to the back of the skull. The vole has no chance to flee. It never even knew something was hunting it. In this game there is no chase, only an arrival. Owls are far more diverse than most predators of the night. They inhabit every continent except Antarctica, thriving in tundras, deserts, tropical jungles, and suburban neighborhoods. Each species is uniquely tuned to its environment, but they all share core design principles. Facial discs for sound collection, forward-facing eyes for depth perception, and an uncanny ability to rotate their heads up to 270 degrees. Not for style, but because their eyes are fixed in their sockets. To scan the world, they must turn the entire head. But when they do, they see and hear with astonishing precision. Those disc-like faces aren't ornamental. They're shaped like satellite dishes, paraboloids that funnel sound toward the ears. And the ears themselves are asymmetrical. One is higher than the other, allowing owls to triangulate sound in three-dimensional space. In low-light environments, vision can only take you so far. Hearing becomes the dominant sense, and in owls it's been refined to surgical levels. Some can detect the heartbeat of a mouse under snow from several meters away. This combination of silent flight and extreme auditory sensitivity makes the owl a specialist in ambush. Unlike falcons or hawks, which rely on speed and daylight vision to overpower prey, owls are precision assassins. They don't scan from above in broad circles. They perch, they wait. And when they move, they do so with uncanny confidence. Not because they saw the prey, but because they heard it breathe. In boreal forests, the great grey owl operates over snowy fields, where even a whisper of movement is dulled by insulation. And yet, it hunts with remarkable accuracy. With its facial disc acting like a sonar array, it listens for mice tunneling under thick snow. When it detects the right pattern of noise, a rhythmic digging or rustle, it launches into the air, arcs silently, then plunges, sometimes breaking through crusted snow with enough force to drive its talons deep below. It doesn't always catch what it's aiming for, but it misses far less often than it should. Meanwhile, in deserts and open plains, burrowing owls offer a twist on the owl's image. These small ground-dwelling hunters still fly and kill with precision, but they also run, dig, and interact with daylight more than most of their kin. They use abandoned rodent tunnels to hide and surprise prey, sometimes even mimicking the hiss of rattlesnakes to scare off intruders. It's a reminder that stealth can come in many forms, not always from the sky. The diversity continues into the tropics, where species like the spectacled owl rule the night with deep, booming calls that seem almost at odds with their silent strikes. They hunt bats, lizards, insects, anything small enough to grab. And unlike many birds of prey, owls don't tear apart meals with great ceremony. They swallow small prey whole. Efficient, no waste, no sound. Even their young are trained early in the ways of silence. In owl nests, begging calls are soft chirps, not shrieks. Nestlings learn quickly that drawing attention invites competition, from siblings, from other predators, even from rival owls. The reward for silence, as always, is survival. And yet, despite their precision and power, owls are often victims of misconception. Because they are nocturnal, they've been burdened with folklore, omens of death, symbols of wisdom, messengers of the supernatural. But strip away the superstition, and what remains is far more impressive. A predator that wins, not through strength or size, but through absolute mastery of sound, space, and timing. In ecological terms, owls play vital roles. They regulate rodent populations, keep balance in insect communities, and signal ecosystem health. Their presence in a region often correlates with biodiversity. And while most animals that rely on sight suffer at night, owls dominate it, not by creating noise, but by erasing it. So as the night deepens and the stars sharpen above the treetops, an owl glides once more across a silent field. No call, no flap, just a shape drifting between shadow and starlight. Below, a mouse pauses, its ears turning, but there's nothing to hear. By the time it notices the talons, the world has already gone quiet again. The Arctic does not welcome visitors, it endures them. A wind-lashed white expanse stretching to the edges of the earth, it is a place where silence is interrupted only by the distant groan of shifting ice and the brittle crack of permafrost surrendering to cold. It is a frozen ocean masquerading as land, one that moves, splinters, and reforms beneath the weight of its own stillness. Here, under a slate-grey sky and among the shards of sea ice, one predator walks alone, slow, deliberate, and almost spectral. The polar bear is not a creature of chaos. It is a hunter sculpted by emptiness. Nothing in the bear's behavior speaks of haste. It does not stalk like a cat, nor does it chase like a wolf. It moves with the rhythm of the ice, unhurried, immense, yet always capable of sudden violence. Its fur, thick and yellow-white, matches the ice floes around it. Not perfectly, but well enough. Beneath that coat is black skin, an adaptation for absorbing heat from the Arctic sun, and a powerful frame built less for brute force than for endurance. The polar bear's domain can stretch over hundreds of miles of fragmented sea ice, and it must cross this shifting, drifting platform in search of the only prey worth the energy, seals. But seals do not linger on the surface. They live beneath the ice, surfacing only briefly through breathing holes to take in air before vanishing again into the freezing abyss. This single detail defines everything about how the polar bear hunts. It cannot chase what it cannot reach. So instead, it waits, and waits, and waits. Near a narrow lead in the ice, a fissure where water laps gently against frozen walls, the bear lowers its massive frame onto its belly. It stills its breath. It quiets its limbs. All that moves now is the faint shimmer of heat rising from its body. In this vastness, silence is not merely a tactic. It is the language of survival. Every crunch, every breath too loud, every shift in weight could warn the seal below. So the bear becomes part of the ice, a motionless shape among many, eyes fixed on the hole. What follows is a waiting game that could last hours, sometimes longer. The bear cannot see the seal. It must read the ice. It watches for bubbles, listens for the faintest ripple, tracks the pressure of wind against open water. This kind of hunting isn't visual, it's sensory. The bear knows when the seal will surface by feel, by instinct tuned through countless failed hunts and years of hunger-driven practice. And when that moment comes, it is fast, a blur of motion in a place where nothing moves. The bear explodes from stillness, slamming its paw down with bone-breaking force. If it's close enough, It may clamp its jaws around the seal's head and drag it onto the ice. If not, it plunges in after it, into the freezing water, into the risk of losing the kill. It is all decided in seconds. Weeks of energy may depend on this one strike. In the Arctic, the line between feast and famine is drawn by that single breath of air the seal takes, and whether the bear is there to meet it. The success rate is low. Even for the most experienced hunters, many waits end in nothing. The seal surfaces at another hole. The bear's timing is off by seconds, or the prey is simply too fast. But the bear does not rage or growl. It simply moves on. Another hole, another wait. Patience is not optional. It is survival. And no other land predator spends so much time doing so little for so long in the hopes of something. The Arctic is cruel in its economics. Each seal offers a cache of fat, and fat is gold here. A single ringed seal can deliver enough calories to sustain a bear for days, if it is eaten whole, including blubber and organs. The meat is incidental. What the bear truly wants is energy. It gorges until its fur is slick with oil, then drags the rest away or abandons it entirely. Not because it is wasteful, but because it cannot afford to burn more energy than it gains. In this frozen ledger of predator and prey, every step is a calculation. Even the ice itself is part of the hunt. Bears choose pressure ridges, natural cracks formed by colliding flows, where seals often hide breathing holes. They sniff with a nose capable of detecting scent from over a kilometer away. They feel vibrations through their paws, listening for movement underfoot. And when needed, they swim. With webbed forepaws and thick fat insulation, they can travel for miles between flows, often unseen, often beneath the ice's edge, emerging where least expected. But this mastery comes with risk. The melting Arctic is unmaking the platform the polar bear depends on. Ice forms later, breaks sooner, and covers less distance than ever before. Bears must now swim farther between hunting grounds. Some drown, others starve. Mothers with cubs suffer most, unable to find enough food to sustain both themselves and their offspring. The stillness that once served the bear is now broken by distance, hunger, and exhaustion. And yet, despite these challenges, the polar bear remains unmatched in its command of silence. It is not a predator of surprise, but of inevitability. It does not need to stalk. It simply needs to be present when the prey appears, and to act without error. In a place where the landscape is a blank canvas of white and shadow, its power lies in restraint. While other predators charge, the polar bear waits. While others howl, it listens. And while others kill with speed, it kills with precision. To witness a polar bear hunt is not to see violence. It is to see calculation, persistence, and patience distilled into a living form. It is an echo of an older world, one not yet governed by noise and chaos, but by cold, quiet purpose. As the bear lumbers away across the broken ice, its breath curling into the air behind it, it leaves no trace, no path, no sound, no heat, just the subtle impression of weight in the snow, already fading, already gone. The Arctic remains silent. The seal never knew it was being watched. And somewhere, out beyond the next ridge, another hole waits. Another breath will rise, and the bear, if it is lucky, will be waiting. The desert is a theater of extremes. By day, it is a furnace of wind and light, where heat lifts from the sand in waves, and even shadows look scorched. By night, it becomes a different world. Still, cold, and whisper quiet beneath skies stitched with stars. Survival here is not about endurance alone. It's about disappearance. With no trees to hide behind, no dense brush to crouch beneath, the predators of the desert have learned a different skill: vanishing in plain sight. Not through magic or myth, but through adaptation so refined that presence itself becomes an illusion. These are the desert's ghosts, sidewinders, scorpions, and sand-stitched hunters who move not through the landscape, but as part of it. The sun climbs, the ground bakes, and in a basin of rippled dunes, the surface seems utterly lifeless. But beneath this sterile facade, life is folded into the sand. Just below the surface, concealed under millimeters of powdered silica, lies a hunter. The sidewinder rattlesnake, Crotalus carastes, is no stranger to this heat. It thrives in it. Coiled into a tight S, buried with only its eyes and horns above ground, it waits. Its coloration mirrors the desert palette, beige on tan, dappled with broken lines that mimic the scattered texture of wind-drawn sand. The sidewinder doesn't hunt by pursuit. It lets the desert come to it. A lizard, perhaps a fringe-toed gecko, scampers over the dune crest, pausing only briefly. That's all the snake needs. In a flash too quick to see, the body uncoils upward, fangs snap forward, and venom delivers a paralysis measured in seconds. The strike is not flamboyant. It's surgical.
And once the prey succumbs, the snake swallows it whole, mouth distending with evolutionary ease, before sliding back under the sand. No struggle, no trace. Even in motion, the sidewinder barely registers as real. Its name comes from the peculiar way it moves. Not straight, not slithering, but in a series of angled, looping contacts that leave J-shaped imprints in the sand. This sidewinding allows it to reduce contact with the burning surface and navigate loose terrain more efficiently than any straight-bodied reptile. It looks unnatural at first glance, like something conjured in reverse. A living ripple that glides sideways across a landscape shaped by heat. But the snake is just one of many spectral predators in this landscape. As the last light fades and the temperature drops, another ghost emerges, slower, colder, and armored. The desert scorpion. Its exoskeleton glows faintly under ultraviolet light, a feature still not fully understood by science. Some speculate it helps detect moonlight. Others suggest it may serve as a warning to predators. But in visible light, the scorpion remains invisible. Its sandy beige carapace blends seamlessly into its surroundings, and during the heat of day, it remains buried beneath the surface, avoiding desiccation and detection alike. At night it comes alive. It petits, not quickly, not recklessly, but with measured precision. Its pincers sweep in a wide arc as it feels its way across the terrain. It's not sight that guides it. Desert scorpions are nearly blind. Instead, they use mechanosensitive hairs on their legs to detect the vibrations of prey moving nearby. A beetle scratching at the edge of a root, a cricket's careless jump. Each sends out signals through the earth, echoes the scorpion reads like a seismograph. When it finds the target, it positions its body low and coils its tail upward. Not dramatically, not like the comic image of a striking pose. The actual strike is economical, brief, and deadly. The stinger flicks forward, injecting venom that may paralyze or kill depending on the species and size of the prey. The scorpion doesn't always use it. If its pincers are strong enough, it may simply crush and tear. But when it does sting, it does so with anatomical grace, powered by a system refined over 400 million years of desert ambush. Many desert predators rely on burrows, not just as shelters, but as traps. The sun spider, not a true spider but an arachnid cousin, digs shallow depressions beneath rocks and strikes upward when insects pass by. Trapdoor spiders, nearly indistinguishable from their surroundings, wait behind a lid of sand and silk that opens just long enough to grab, kill, and vanish again. Even beetles and assassin bugs use deceptive stillness, imitating pebbles or dry plant husks until the moment of action. Camouflage in the desert isn't a luxury, it's a requirement. The open visibility cuts both ways. The hunter can see, but it can also be seen. To survive here, the predator must weaponize invisibility. The coloration of the desert horned viper, the armor of the sand-colored mantis, even the glintless, matte carapaces of tenebrionid beetles, all serve the same evolutionary contract: remain unseen until it's too late. And it's not just about blending in. Many of these hunters have evolved to move without sound, without scent, and without shadow. The thermal profiles of sidewinders are minimized by brief exposures to the surface. Scorpions time their emergence with moonless nights to avoid detection by aerial predators like owls. The desert is not silent, but it rewards silence. Every grain of sand kicked, every silhouette cast in the moonlight becomes a liability. Surprisingly, water isn't the immediate concern in many of these ambush strategies. Most desert predators obtain hydration through their prey, metabolic water stored in the tissues of insects, rodents, and reptiles. The kill is not just for calories, it's a reservoir. This has pushed some species into highly specialized diets. The desert long-nosed bat drinks nectar and preys on insects that gather around blooms. The horned lizard, while not a predator in the traditional sense, feeds almost exclusively on ants and uses its cryptic body shape and stillness to avoid becoming prey itself. Even when not actively hunting, many desert predators contribute to the illusion of lifelessness. A motionless gecko perched beside a rock, a mantis frozen mid-crawl, a spider curled within its burrow. all contribute to a deceptive calm that shrouds the landscape. Then suddenly that calm breaks. A strike, a sting, a flurry of sand, and then stillness again. The brilliance of desert predation is not its brutality, but its restraint. It is a performance of patience. A theater of controlled violence concealed behind a curtain of heat and dust. These are creatures shaped by scarcity, of cover, of water, of error. They do not kill with flourish, they kill with function. Their power lies not in domination, but in timing, not in overwhelming force, but in invisibility. And because they are so rarely seen in action, they remain misunderstood, often feared, and always underestimated. The day returns and the ghosts retreat. The sidewinder buries itself beneath the dune's shadow. The scorpion slips into a crack in the rock. The desert resets, a blank canvas once more. But for those who know how to look, for the twitch in the sand, the out-of-place pebble, the faint vibration beneath their feet, the signs are there. The specters are real, and they are waiting. The African savanna is a land painted in gold and movement. Endless plains sway under the breath of the wind, every stalk of grass a whisper, every shadow a story waiting to unfold. From a distance the landscape appears open and simple, a stage where speed rules and predators must chase or starve. But speed alone doesn't win in the grasslands. It's a myth, one as persistent as the mirage on the horizon. Here, victory belongs to those who wait, who blend, who time their strike not by muscle but by silence. And no predator embodies this contradiction better than the cheetah. Billed as the fastest land animal on Earth, the cheetah carries the weight of expectation. It's an image burned into documentaries and minds alike. The streak of spots, the blur of limbs, the dust rising in its wake. But that cinematic chase, as breathtaking as it is only the climax. What comes before it is far more impressive. A game of patience, a ballet of stillness, a dance of inches that unfolds long before the first step is ever taken. The cheetah begins its hunt with invisibility. Low to the ground, shoulder blades rising like gears beneath the skin, it moves through grass barely high enough to hide it. The spots across its body are not merely decoration. They shatter the outline of its form, mimicking the dappled light and shifting blades of the dry season savanna. This is not reckless movement. Every step is placed with care, head low, tail still. Muscles held in a coiled readiness that never releases prematurely. The goal is not to run, it's to avoid the need to. Unlike lions, who can rely on numbers, or leopards, who use terrain to ambush from above, the cheetah operates in the open. Its only cover is distance and deception. And so it creeps, often for hundreds of meters, just to close the gap to a crucial 30. That's the magic number. 30 meters or less and the cheetah has a chance. More than that and the odds drop fast. The prey, usually gazelles, impalas or young wildebeest, are not slow. They're agile, reactive, and know this land intimately. The cheetah doesn't just need to run fast. It needs to end the chase before the prey can truly start running. When the sprint begins, it is explosive. The cheetah doesn't gradually accelerate, it detonates. Claws, semi-retractable unlike other cats, grip the earth like cleats. The spine flexes like a spring, doubling stride length with each extension. Tail whips with precision to maintain balance. And within 3 seconds, the cat is flying at over 60 kilometers per hour, sometimes peaking past 100. But this isn't a marathon. It's a race measured in heartbeats. The cheetah's body begins to overheat almost immediately, its breathing rising to 150 breaths per minute, its muscles starved for oxygen and flooded with lactic acid. If it doesn't catch its prey in under 30 seconds, the hunt ends in collapse. So it aims with care. During the sprint, it adjusts in real time, predicting the zigzags of the antelope, pivoting mid-stride with astonishing control. It's not brute speed that wins, but the ability to lock eyes on a path and adapt within a millisecond. When contact is made, it's not always fatal. The cheetah sweeps its forelimb under the prey's legs to trip it, then quickly clamps onto the throat with its jaws. Only when the animal is subdued does the cheetah rest, collapsing beside the kill to pant and recover, often too exhausted to eat for several minutes. This exhaustion comes at a cost. The cheetah is vulnerable. If a hyena or lion arrives, the kill may be stolen. The cheetah won't fight. It can't afford to. Its frame is lean, built for speed, not power. This is why stalking is everything. A clean kill, done fast, done unseen, means the cheetah gets to keep its meal. A sloppy chase, even a successful one, might mean losing everything in the end. Yet the cheetah is not the only feline that plays this game of silence. The open plains are also home to caracals and servals, smaller cats lesser known, but no less precise in their technique. The caracal, with its tufted black ears and golden coat, moves through the grass with a confidence born of balance. Its strength lies not in speed over distance, but in vertical power. Capable of leaping over 3 meters into the air, the caracal can pluck birds mid-flight. But its primary strategy is more grounded, stalking through scrubland and dry woodland margins, approaching prey with the calculated stealth of a leaf riding the wind. It feeds on birds, rodents, and small antelopes. Its movements are subtle, even elegant, and often unnoticed until the moment of the pounce. The serval, lanky and long-legged, favors wetlands and grasslands rich in cover. With oversized ears and a head that seems too small for its frame, it stands still for long periods, rotating each ear independently to triangulate sound. A vole under the grass, a rustle beneath a clump of sedge. The serval listens, then pounces in a high arc, a leap so vertical and sudden it startles the prey into freezing just long enough for the kill. Its diet is opportunistic, and its hunting success rate rivals or even exceeds that of larger cats. Not because it chases, but because it listens and waits. All 3 cats, cheetah, caracal, serval, reflect the hidden truth of the plains. Speed is only a tool. Precision is the art. The cheetah's sprint is legendary, but it is the final chord in a symphony of patience. The caracal's leap is poetry in motion, but always built on silence. The serval's pounce is almost comical in its height, yet rooted in acoustic genius. These are not creatures of chaos, they are specialists of control. And the grasslands, wide and flat as they may seem, are perfectly suited for this kind of hunting. The grass, even when sparse, provides optical confusion. The ground, flat enough for clear view, still offers low contours and dips to vanish into. Prey animals are sharp-eyed and fast, but their defenses are only effective if they know something is coming. And that's the defining tactic of these feline hunters. Remove the warning. Let the moment arrive unannounced. Make the kill before the prey even understands it was being hunted. So next time the plains are shown as a stage of speed and spectacle, remember what lies beneath. The stillness, the low crawl, the head below the horizon line, the flick of an ear, the wind pushing grass in one direction while a hunter moves in the other. And the truth that in the world's most open landscapes, it's not how fast you run that matters most. It's how long you can go without being seen. Step back from the jungle canopy. Rise above the desert wind. Drift out of the reef, past the grasslands, away from the ice, and beyond the silhouettes of wings slicing the night. Pull high enough, and the predator's world blurs into a pattern. Not chaos, not randomness, but a strategy etched into muscle, skin, and instinct across every corner of the earth. The art of silence. Not simply the absence of sound, but the calculated removal of presence. An evolutionary masterstroke that has shaped killers in every ecosystem, crafted not by noise but by restraint. Across wildly different lineages, environments, and species, predators have arrived at the same idea: to win without warning. It is not coincidence. It is convergent evolution. Nature's blueprint solved again and again by unrelated creatures who never met, never shared a gene, and yet stalk with eerily similar precision. Silence, it turns out, is not a choice. It is a solution. Consider the leopard in the rainforest, slinking beneath fig trees and strangler vines. It does not announce its arrival. Its padded feet spread its weight across the forest floor like mist on bark. It times its breathing to match the pauses in birdsong. When it moves only what must move. And when it strikes, the only sound is that of leaves bouncing after the kill. Now dive to the reef, where an octopus swells and collapses to mimic coral, where a cuttlefish flashes waves of confusion before tentacles snap forward without a ripple. In both cases, the same principle applies. Avoid detection long enough to act once, just once. In the savannah, a cheetah's sprint is earned not by speed, but by stalking close enough that speed becomes a finisher, not an opener. In the Arctic, a polar bear lies belly down beside a breathing hole for an hour, perfectly still, to turn one seal's gasp into a meal. In deserts, sidewinders write hieroglyphs in the sand, curved paths that give away nothing but direction, and then bury themselves, waiting for an insect's shadow to stumble too near. The examples multiply and the pattern sharpens. Owls glide without turbulence. their feathers reshaped by evolution to cancel the very wind that lifts them. Sharks approach from below with the slow, deliberate calm of inevitability, using electroreception to track heartbeats while making none of their own known. Even insects, mantises, trapdoor spiders, assassin bugs, perform mechanical ambushes with timing so precise it resembles programming. Nothing here is about size, nothing about strength. It is about becoming zero until the moment of one. But how? What makes silence not just useful, but universal? Part of the answer lies in energy. A failed chase is expensive. For many predators, the cost of pursuit is not just fatigue. It's a risk of injury, lost opportunity, even starvation. Every wasted calorie must be regained, and ecosystems don't offer refunds. Silence, in contrast, is cheap. It burns less. It gives more. To wait, to stalk, to strike from cover, that is to tip the odds before the prey ever sees the board. An ambush reduces the need to run. It reduces the chance to miss. It avoids alerting others. A lion may bellow across the plains, but it doesn't hunt that way. When it eats, it sneaks. Then there is perception. Prey evolve sharper senses with every generation. Ears tuned to the frequency of rustling grass, eyes adapted to spot slight motion, lateral lines in fish that register water pressure. Against this, the predator must vanish, not just physically but sensorially. Visual camouflage is one piece. Sound is another. Scent, too. The snow leopard descending a Himalayan ridge does not just move softly, it moves downwind. The jaguar doesn't just stalk through vegetation, it chooses paths that muffle underfoot. The scorpion doesn't see its target, it feels its footsteps through vibrations in the ground. And still, it stays buried until the moment strikes. This arms race has bred solutions as diverse as the creatures that wield them. In some birds of prey, muscle attachments have shifted to allow flight with fewer flaps. In cephalopods, skin becomes a mood ring of deception, reflecting not only color, but the behavior of what it mimics. In mammals, fur dulls sound. In reptiles, body temperature is lowered to reduce scent output. In sharks, skin is ribbed with dermal denticles that reduce drag and turbulence, letting them glide through water so smoothly, even seals don't hear them until the final bite. Nature does not throw away what works, and silence works. And yet silence is not always passive. Sometimes it is enforced. The tiger's roar is a show of strength, but when it hunts, it disappears into reeds with a quiet that rivals the wind. The owl is voiceless in flight, but deafening when calling for a mate. The same muscles that allow a cheetah to burst forward in a cloud of dust also allow it to inch forward through grass without shifting a blade. These predators are not silent because they must be. They are silent because they choose to be. Because they know that in a world of alarm calls and herd instincts, the only path to success is the one no one else sees. Humans, too, have begun to learn from this pattern. Engineers study owl feathers to design quieter aircraft. Submarine hulls are sculpted with shark skin-like textures to minimize sonar detection. Even military camouflage and stealth technology often mirrors biological solutions. Adaptive color changes, movement suppression, reduced heat signatures. What the jungle and reef taught by blood, we now replicate by blueprint. And so across continents and oceans, in blazing heat and glacial silence, one law remains constant. The killer who makes the least noise, who appears from nowhere, who acts with precision and then disappears, wins. This is not a rule of size or spectacle. It is a rule of mastery, of timing, of the understanding that fear isn't always created by sound, but by the absence of it. That terror comes not from the roar, but from the realization that something is watching, and you never heard it coming. In nature's deadliest battles, the loudest predator may entertain us, but the quietest one survives. The ambusher, the lurker, the patient, the one that doesn't fight for attention, but for results. And in the final analysis of evolution's grand experiment, it's the soundless strike, the ghost through grass, the breath beneath snow, the tentacle in the coral, the wing that doesn't flap, that reminds us of nature's most efficient truth. The best killer is the one you never hear.